Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Nicole Cowley. She's a technology solutions specialist and she's a digital marketing strategist for chiropractors. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Now, I've got a question for you. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're completely brand new to social media, maybe even brand new to marketing as well. Like you don't even have an account set up on Facebook or Instagram or any of those kind of things there. And you're wondering, like, how do I start? What platform is best? What content do I create? Which platform should I even choose? Well, in today's episode, Nicole and I chat exactly all about that as well. So we talk about, to begin with, what platform you should choose. You know, should it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn? Nicole shares her thoughts with regards to that. We then have a great discussion in around how do we build relationships? How do we get traffic? i.e., how do we get noticed? That's the important thing there as well. Nicole shares the way that she goes about creating content and she shares her thoughts on what she thinks are the best kind of content. We also have a great discussion in around the role that email should play in your marketing, and then also how to find a superstar person to help you out with all of this, because we don't want to be spending all of our time on social media and none of our time actually looking after the patients. That's not the goal of the whole game. I first came across Nicole on Clubhouse about a month or so ago. In fact, at the beginning of this episode, we have a little bit of a discussion in around Clubhouse. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, you will after you've listened to this episode, and the role that it might play in your marketing, perhaps more into the future as well. Nicole loves digital marketing and she really loves working with chiropractors. She's generous, knowledgeable, and in this episode, she's constantly dropping knowledge bombs. Hey, that's enough of me talking about Nicole. Let's go and meet her. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, where we guide natural health and wellness experts through the pitfalls of marketing. Each episode, you'll learn simple, effective, easily actionable, and heart-centered marketing strategies. And here's your host, Angus Pyke.
Nicole Cowley, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me today.
It is a pleasure to have you here. I am worried for your voice a little bit. You've told me you've not long got off a clubhouse room where you've spent 2 hours talking about marketing. So how's the voice feeling?
It feels good. I was just thinking I should have a bottle of water and not a cup of coffee next to me. But for anybody that knows me, they wouldn't expect anything different.
Yes. Well, I'm going both water and coffee because it is 7 a.m. in the morning here at the moment. So tell me, what were you doing on Clubhouse?
Yeah, so I actually had a really, really unique opportunity today. This came about from a Facebook post. So for anybody who may know Dr. Matthew Loop, somebody that I've followed in the digital marketing world for years. And
Yes.
and I follow him on all of his social media channels. And we prompted a conversation on Facebook. And I said, I direct messaged him and said, hey, would you like to talk about this? And just, jam about it a little deeper over on Clubhouse. So I knew he was on Clubhouse, follow him on Clubhouse, but I've never seen him in any rooms or speaking. And he agreed. It was awesome. So we scheduled it and set it up, and we were talking all about content marketing. But it was so cool. So I told you I followed, Dr. Matthew Loop. I consider him really a pioneer in the digital marketing space for chiropractors. But we've never crossed paths. And it is just so interesting that it's this new Clubhouse app that brings our voices together to finally connect in, a real life way for the first time. So that's why I love Clubhouse. I love it.
I surveyed my audience a couple of weeks ago, just asking them about Clubhouse and sort of saying, look, how many of you are on Clubhouse? And it was interesting, excuse me, about 60% of them were. And those that weren't were mostly at that stage kind of Android users as well. But if we've got a couple of our listeners that are not kind of quite aware of what Clubhouse is, can you kind of give a bit of an explanation? What is Clubhouse? Who should use it? What's it doing?
Yeah, so, they coin it a drop-in audio app. And I've heard some people call it like an interactive podcast. Those are good, like interactive podcasts, kind of. I think that's really what Mark Cuban, the app that he's doing right now, if anybody's seen that, his is more of an interactive podcast, but it's audio only. And you can create rooms and then people can drop in and listen to the rooms. And so what we did today was we had kind of a panel of speakers that were going through a topic, and then we were able to open up a feature to raise hands. People listening could raise their hand, come up and join the conversation. And so it's just such a unique new social media platform that's a brand new idea that really hasn't been done yet. There's no video, there's no messaging, you have a profile, but you would have to link over to Instagram or Twitter's linkable on your profile to actually connect with someone, And so I think it's just a really, really unique way of bringing our voices together. And it's really, people are spending, like, in some of the names that are on the app, there's some really big names that I've dropped into and just got some really cool information that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And then you have the chance to join that discussion and like hearing their, real responses to real live questions that aren't prepared. You don't get that anywhere else. And I think people just crave for that live realness of feeling like they're in the same moment together with somebody else, which is why it's so much different than recording or watching content,
Yeah. There's a couple of things that have struck me about it. The authenticity and generosity are two things that have really stood out for me. So, and the second is the diversity. There's a room, you pick the topic, space travel, the diversity of any, there's a room on any interest that you might have, model train making, and you can kind of just jump in there and hear experts in their field sharing their thoughts. There's collaboration, there's community. I'm relatively new to it, and I'm intrigued. I'm being very careful because I could see that it could very quickly just take up a lot of my time. So,
It certainly can.
where do you think that it might fit in for the health practitioner? What as a social media platform, um, where does it fit in?
Obviously, because that's my ecosystem, that's my community. That's what I see most on the platform. So I'm definitely seeing a ton of healthcare providers and a variety of specialties in the app, from wellness to surgeons to women's medicine to holistic to healers. And I think first and foremost, collaboration, right?
Yes.
So you're seeing these stages where all of these specialties are coming together to discuss a topic. And it's when those minds come together that brilliant ideas come about.
Yes.
So the collab is amazing first and foremost. And so I think you have to think there first before you start to think about it as far as a new business type thing. But I also think jumping in, learning it, diving in, bringing your community on, being there when it opens up and is available on Android and on all the devices, because it's going to be sooner than later, you're going to have a leg up, right? And be able to really, lead your audience. And it's just another place to carry your message. And so I love social media and technology because of the way it can leverage our message. And so Clubhouse is just another way to do that. But beyond collaboration, you're also then building, if you really own your marketing and your own messaging and your own branding, and you're speaking on these stages, there's huge opportunity to build your practice, to build your community, build your audience deeper, both horizontal and vertical, right? So build those deeper connections with your current customers, but then also start to build a referral base and potentially new people into your community from this new app. Because like the thing is, when you hear somebody speak, it's so much different than reading a post.
Yes.
When I see somebody's Facebook post, we're friends because we're friends. Like we may or may not know each other. It just kind of gives me a synopsis. But when I hear them and I hear their inflection and I hear, like exactly now, you're hearing my brain work as, it moves the words through my mouth, which you don't get when you type. It's edited, it's all of those things. So that build like trust, like you were talking about, that authenticity
Yes.
is incredible. It's unmatched on any other platform.
I wonder, my thoughts at the moment with it, as far as with regards to collaboration and a learning platform. If you want to get in there and work out how you can do what you do better, there are rooms in there with people sharing more high quality content than almost anywhere at the moment. In terms of, given that most of the listeners to this show have a brick and mortar business and are looking for ways that they can access a community that's within a 10-kilometer, 6-mile radius, the ability to be able to do that like you can on Instagram and Facebook is not there yet. And so I'm not, if you had like you and I do, where we have a digital business where we serve people from around the globe, that kind of thing, I see it as really powerful at the moment. And no doubt it's going to grow and there'll be targeting options and all those kind of things. I'm fascinated. I kind of wondered whether it might have already come and gone, but it is just growing. And I'm like, whoa.
So I think yes and no, right?
Mm.
So this is what I've played around with. Like, but would it be worth your time? Brick and mortar, local business, like would it be worth your time to do like you see some of these digital marketers do and spend 12 hours a day every day on the
Yes.
platform? Probably
Yes.
not.
Yes.
Yeah, probably not worth your time to do that. But with the local brick and mortar, like I am seeing more and more locality specific clubs, locality specific groups. And it was really interesting early on when I joined the app. So sort of in January sometime, I jumped into a room and I don't know how I got into the room because I wasn't following anybody. It wasn't in a club. But then in like a half an hour into the room, I heard the founder of the room talk about how she was from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I'm from Indiana.
Yes.
And the other girl was from Indianapolis, Indiana. And so I realized like maybe there is some sort of locality, like maybe that was in the beginning, I don't
Mm.
know like how all the rooms populate into your feed. But maybe I put Indiana as one of my interests. I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't write it off is what I'm going to say. And the second component I want to lean into this is
Mm.
back to when you own your message, when you own what you do. So like Dr. Tony Ebel was on today, right? Dr. Tony Ebel is seeing patients, not just within his locality.
Mm.
He's traveling here to Indiana to see a certain patient. Patients travel to him to see him because he's so specialized in what he does
Yeah.
with his Neurostorm program. I have another doctor, Dr. Brandon Brown, who's the migraine doc. So he's went viral on TikTok, and TikTok can have the same thing, right? It's like, okay, you go viral on TikTok and you get 500,000 views, but if none of those are in your locality, does that benefit you? Well, for him, it has, because he's built that preeminence where people are traveling to him because he's the migraine specialist. So I
Yes.
think don't discount what your radius may be, again, when you own that space that you're in, right?
Yeah, it's a great thought. I love these discussions and I like a little bit of healthy debate back and forwards. I've become really friendly over the last 6 months with Cody Hainish, who is Dr. Crack. And so he has now 2.7 million followers on TikTok. And he's an Australian chiropractor. And he has in excess of 20 new patients a week that come to him from his TikTok. Like he cannot put staff on quickly enough at his practice. He just continues to raise his fees, add more people in there. He's being asked to speak on stages around Australia now. It's a bit hard to travel kind of internationally. So I can kind of see where it goes. Yeah, I'm fascinated. You've touched on kind of content. It's what I have listened. And here's the irony of it all, is that you and I really met through Clubhouse.
Mhm.
It's where I got to listen to you and go like, oh, holy heck. Like, I just really love what Nicole has to say, particularly with regards to content and content marketing and how you can use that to differentiate yourself from other people like Tony has, like the migraine guy that you were talking about beforehand also. And I want to kind of jump into that today, but we've kind of clubhoused ourselves. First of all, let's do a little bit of a background story, because you teach the most wonderful content, in particular to chiropractors with regards to social media marketing, content creation, helping to kind of position themselves as an authority. What's been your journey through to now?
Yes. So, great question. My aunt and uncle are both chiropractors. So
Uh,
chiropractic's just, I'm a lucky one, if you will, been a part of my life. In 2014, I was pregnant with my first child and had moved up to rural Indiana and was looking for new career opportunities. And my aunt's software company was hiring. So she kind of asked me if I'd be interested, and I applied and didn't think much of it. And then I think it was like 6 months later, they had reached back. Like there was some time like there, and they had reached back out and they were hiring for sales agents. And I started selling chiropractic EHR software. And so it was a lot of fun. I still do that. It is a lot of fun. Not it was, but quickly, like what I did, because so this is where I love social media. I've always used social media for for any career that I've been in some way or another. It's, been to my benefit. One of the ways I was selling chiropractic EHRs, I was literally going door to door. So I would pick a day and I would go to the big city near me. So Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, Kokomo, these big cities. And I would take this packet of information about my EHR and I would
I'm going to
drop it
stop you
off
here
at.
for a moment. Can you tell me what an EHR is?
Yeah, so electronic health record. So
Got it. Okay.
the software that's going to manage your office appointments, billing, soap notes.
Beautiful.
And so yeah, I would drop a packet of information off about it. And then, this was in 2014, which just sounds like yesterday when I say it, but Facebook for Business, and it wasn't that big of a thing yet, right? Like ads were just starting to blow up. Pages were just starting to blow up. Instagram was still very, very personable. I don't even think Snapchat was a thing yet. TikTok definitely wasn't a thing yet. Stories wasn't a thing yet. Facebook Live wasn't a thing yet, right? None of this stuff, was there yet. So we forget how quickly so this is all come, right? But I just started adding chiropractic friends on Facebook. I would just add my aunt's connections and I would join the chiropractic Facebook groups, and I just used Facebook to become so connected. And then I would just share information to my feed, right, of what I was doing, right, with the software, like going today to drop some packets off about EHR software, and, kind of documented what I was doing. Well, quickly, one of the things that I saw and learned was chiropractors could be doing the same thing, and they were interested to learn more about how to use social media to connect with their own network deeper. And so it was in 2015, just about a year later, I launched Chiro Social Tech as a my strategy was that it was going to be a lead generator for software sales, right? I was just going to give all this free information away, and it was going to be a content. My content strategy was deliver this very high valuable content. I become an expert in, the technology space. And so when and if they need software, I'm going to be that person. Well, the reality is people are like, okay, that's great and all, but I don't need software. I need social media help. So how do I pay you to do that? Right. So
Nice.
very organically, it turned into this business and serving my audience. And I've loved every single minute of it. Long story short, I got pregnant, actually got diagnosed with lupus a year after starting my business, which I managed, but I got pregnant again and had a giant lupus flare. And so during that lupus flare, I had a big client. I worked with a lot of the associations, a lot of the chiropractic groups. And again, a lot of that is when you put your content out there, when you put yourself out there, you take yourself out of it and you think about, I have to get this message to my audience. Like, this is so important. And that is what I saw with social media. I was like, Periscope became a thing, which was live. So before Facebook Live, it was Periscope. And I was like, oh my gosh, these doctors can be doing because I was seeing doctors doing dinner with docs on a weekly basis, and I was watching, some doctors that I know and love, trying to do everything they could do, grassroots marketing in their communities, and spending so much time and so much money and really spinning their wheels in some ways and not getting anywhere. And I thought, you don't have to spend any money. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just turn a camera on in your office before you leave for the day and get 10 times, 100 times the views than that dinner with doc that cost you this, that, and the other. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't do both and what have you. That's a different conversation. But that's where I was like, this is so incredible that I have to do everything I can to be sure doctors know this is an option, right? That chiropractors know that this is available and how this works and how they can do it, and how they can reach their audience with it. Because I'm passionate, having grown up with my aunt and uncle being chiropractors, I'm passionate about chiropractic and what it's done in my life. And, I quickly learned when I went to college that chiropractic is not mainstream. Like,
Far from, yes.
I just thought everybody went to a chiropractor. Turns out, nope, like everybody doesn't go to the chiropractor. So that was kind of like like a little bit of a different world for me to understand that this just wasn't a part. And not only was it not a part, but that people actually like totally didn't understand why it was a part of my life.
Yes.
And so, later on, obviously I did something different later on in life, came back to the software. And that's when I realized like, I can make a real impact here. And that's always been in me. I don't know. I want to make an impact. I want to make my life matter. I want to make it count, for something. And so this passion, I just put everything into it. But, I think the biggest thing is we get in our own way and we overthink like somebody's going to say no, or somebody's going to judge me, or somebody's going to put me on the spot, or we question ourselves so much. And I just did it. I just thought, you know what, I have to get this message out here. And I know there's people out there that are like, why is Nicole sharing this? Why is Nicole going live every day, right? Why is Nicole posting so much about this? But in the same sense, I get so much positive feedback, and that kind of fuels me to want to keep delivering. And then when I see chiropractors come back and say, I implemented this strategy and it impacted, whatever it may be. They got more, people on their webinar. They were able to get these new patients in their office, but that's people's lives that were impacted by chiropractic. So I don't take that end result for granted. So I think if we really start to think back to what we're really doing, like we got to use every channel to get that out there and get that message out there. And when you're doing it through video, people, like you said, when you heard me on Clubhouse, it was very different than if you saw my Facebook post where I was saying that same stuff. So that's why video is so highly converting. When you put that video out there, they relate to you as a person and what you're saying. They hear your passion. They hear, just like I am now, you can hear that I care about what I'm talking about. I'm not just writing it out to post it or copy and paste or whatever it may be. But I do love this because there's powerful opportunity for chiropractors, for everyone, but specifically for chiropractors.
Let's imagine for a moment that, because I want to take it right back to basics. I'm really interested in your take on this. Someone had just come into this world of social media, had no presence, no concept at all of what it was. And they've come to you, Nicole, and they said, what do I do? I'm perhaps maybe even a chiropractor of my generation. I'm 46, but let's just say even another 10 years older. I'm 55. I'm blown away I thought my audience, particularly in my coaching, would be kind of newer generation chiropractors. It's not. I have these fabulous chiropractors, naturopaths, dentists that are kind of in this 45 to 55-year-old age group that come to me and they say, how do I get started? I've got no idea with this. I don't even have a Facebook or Instagram account. So when somebody comes to you with that and says, lay it out for me, what do I do? Can we take them through a bit of a blueprint of how they can start to impact more lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think if you haven't done anything online yet, right? You
Mm,
haven't been on any of the social media channels, you're going to have to choose one to start with. So,
great
depending
start.
upon where you're at in your community, it's probably going to be Facebook or Instagram. It could be TikTok, right?
Yes.
Depending upon where you're at, but it's probably going to be Facebook or Instagram. And really, the first step is just you have to get in and you have to get your account. Now, I really recommend if you're like, okay, I'm going to dive in, I'm taking this day and we're going to figure this out. Like, I would really get your account and your handle across all the platforms, so
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, your Google My Business. If you don't have that, you want to make sure and claim your Google My Business location. And so then you can post to Google, right? So when people find you, they can find your post, which is awesome.
Yes.
But once you've chosen your number one platform you're going to start with and start diving into, really you have to get in there and start following some people first. So it's like when I joined Clubhouse, my hallway was empty, right? I
Yes.
had to join a club or I had to follow someone in order to get any content at all to engage with. So you do have to get in there and it's about relationships. So you have to follow so you can start adding, and it'll recommend people from your phone. So you can start adding some local people from your phone as friends and then build your page out. Or if it's Instagram, it'll do the same thing. They all connect to your phone. So they're going
Mm,
to know who your contacts are and who's on the app and lead you in that direction. But then I like to have this conversation of understanding the platforms. And so a lot of times, doctors that I'm working with that have done the old school marketing, right? Like I was talking about before, going
mm,
door to door, taking out newspaper ads. It's really about having this conceptual conversation of understanding that this is really no different in many ways,
mm.
right? So it's like if you're going to take out a newspaper ad, you're going to take out a billboard ad, you're going to buy a commercial, video slot on your local television station. All of those were different marketing channels. That's what these are as well. They're different marketing channels. The big difference is, you kind of have to curate your community and your audience. So whereas if you're have a billboard, there's a highway of people that are driving by it, right?
Yes.
So this is more like you're going to get this empty street in this town, and then you have to put up the content to make people want to drive down your street and see what's happening, right? And see what's going on. You could do that through paid ads and organic ads. And I definitely recommend if you're a doctor that's just diving in, I would dive into paid traffic to start
Yes.
to get your message out there quicker. So you can do Facebook ad strategies at $1 a day.
Yes.
It's incredibly affordable. Anybody can do this, right? You can't do a commercial, you can't do a newspaper ad or a magazine ad or a billboard or anything else for for pennies on the view, on the reach. But then it's like really what are you putting out there? What's your message? Why do you want to be on these channels? And so ultimately it's, well, we want new patients, right? We want new patients in our office. And so you really have to build out that process of, they found me online, now what? Or I've put this video out about who we are and what we do, now what? Well, we're going to send them to our website. So the ultimate core goal of social media for your business is to drive traffic to your website. Now,
Right.
ideally a landing page, maybe not your home page, right? But a landing page or a funnel that is related to whatever that video or message was you had on social media.
So
So
let's differentiate about that, because that's a
yeah,
really key point there too. So why not just send them to my homepage? And what is a landing page? And people are hearing the word funnel and possibly starting to quiver in their driving seat at the moment there too. This is getting complex.
oh, wait, you've lost me. Yeah, no, so it's not. overtly complicated. We complicate it with these terms. Your website's your website, right? You've built your website, you know what your website is. The thing with sending them to your homepage of your website is people are people and they don't really know what to do.
Yes.
So they're going to do one of two things. They're going to look at it and they're going to exit out because whatever, they want to go back to scrolling on Facebook or whatever they were doing before. Remember, you're interrupting their mind-numbing activity, right? So you're interrupting their scroll, which is generally when they're in some sort of mind-numbing activity of waiting in line, watching their kids play, what have you. So with that being said, a landing page, you're in control of the content that they get. Generally speaking, a landing page and or a funnel doesn't have your header and your footer, so it doesn't have those menu bars. So they're kind of locked in to the content right in front of them. And so that's where, you put a video out that you run an ad to on, Facebook, and you're talking about, 3 ways that they can, like, so I'm sitting here right now like this, like over my computer, right? So you're like 3 ways to have better posture while you're on a Zoom meeting, right? You're going to do a video and then you're going to say, click over to our website and download this, file that's going to give you these stretches that you can print out and do every day or something like that, whatever the funnel may be. But basically they're going to watch that video and they're going to, oh yeah, I want that information. They're going to click over, enter their email, done. So you're collecting, so it really locks them in to taking that action that you were talking about or wanted them to take, from that piece of content that you put on social media.
I think one of the challenges is, and this, I actually did a little Instagram reel on this the other day, is that most websites are really lousy at letting the audience know who you are, what you help, and what to do next. And all of that needs to kind of happen within that first 7 seconds. And if they watch a great video that you might put out and they then head on over to your website, the challenge with most landing pages or home pages there too is there's no real clear what next. That's a really important thing. And so that's one thing that certainly a really good homepage can do that. But the next level of that is, and it's also at this stage too, the other reason that maybe a landing page might be helpful is that if our ultimate goal is to get somebody to come in for an appointment, to make an appointment, that's a bit like a dating process. And I almost think to some extent, the making an appointment is certainly a bit like an engagement. And if we see them online and we're having conversation back and forwards, we're at a bar, a cafe, chatting back and forwards, they might not be ready for an engagement just yet. And if we can get their email address and we can send them a couple of emails and, they're like dates and we can build a relationship through there. So sometimes the reason I see that people fail on social media is that we just try and go too quickly. We go from having just met them to all of a sudden, come in and have an appointment. And that's where things kind of fail. So I'm interested to kind of go back to this. I love this idea of we need to curate an audience and we are creating content in our street there as well. The question that would come to my mind is what kind of content, you talked about who I am and what I help. Well, that's one video. Like how often, what kind of content should I be creating? Because this is where a lot of people go into overwhelm and get stuck with knowing what to create.
Absolutely. And this is where I was talking about earlier. We're going into kind of the storytelling. What I was doing was just sharing. I was documenting what I was doing throughout the day, right? That's kind of how all of this started to my audience. And so I think the biggest thing is I don't batch a ton of content. So I don't get into this like giant, like content creation day where I'm batching videos for the next, month or 2 months or whatever. But I talk about what is happening with me, with my clients, with what I'm doing in the moment. And so when you're living and breathing and working your business every day, you're getting content all day long. And so it's just sharing those stories, sharing your stories of what you do, why you do, how you do, and then sharing the journey that you take patients through. So you can, HIPAA compliantly go online and do a live or a video and talk about this patient that came in today and their story without ever talking about their name or anything in that regard. But then also there's the testimonials, there's the reviews. So, in a lot of ways, taking your Google reviews and your Facebook reviews and starting to repurpose those. I use a site called Canva, Canva, one of the most popular sites out there, and they keep growing and building and adding new tools. Like, they're amazing. But you can take a screenshot of those reviews from Google or Facebook, make a nice, branded Canva template, and then add that screenshot onto the template and repurpose those reviews and testimonials. And so part of it is going to be a repurposing stuff that's already out there. Part of it's going to be that storytelling, documentation of you and your art and your craft, what, why, how you do it. And just sharing, like we were just saying, your patient's journeys along the way. But then the other component of it I really like is campaign focused. So you nailed it on the head. And here's the other thing too, like we have to remember, again, like I was saying, I might be waiting in line for something, scrolling Facebook, and I come across your ad, and I'm reading your ad and I'm watching your video and I'm really interested, and I click over and it's like schedule an appointment. And I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have my calendar. I got to confirm with my husband tonight when we talk something, like there's just all these life things to take somebody from a Facebook post to that big decision, right? Of scheduling an appointment. So when you can take them, there's that middle step. So when you can take them, it's like, you're not going to go from meeting someone to bed, right? You're going to go to dinner first, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to take them to dinner first.
Yeah.
So when you can take them to your email list, and that's kind of that second step, build your email list and or text. Text is becoming really big. So as I mentioned before, you're trading some piece of value. So something that's going to be a little deeper than whatever the content was that you put on social media, an ebook, a white paper, a case study, meal planning. This could be a contest or a giveaway, right? You could run a big giveaway that's local. There's a ton of ideas you can do, but you trade value for their email address. And then you follow up in that email. And in the email, when you're emailing them, that next step of getting an appointment, whether it's in the, wherever that's at in the process, then that's in their email. So when I get that email, like, oh yeah, I want to do this. I'll open this back up tonight when I talk to my husband because it's in their email, right? So it's really taking a step back and thinking about, that's why I love digital marketing. I love all this. I love the human behavior aspect, studying human behavior, why we do the things we do. And so when you start thinking about the process that people are going to take, and you can really nail that process down, then that's when you're going to see huge, conversions from it.
As you were talking about kind of documenting your life there, I was thinking I was in practice yesterday morning, and throughout the morning, I got a question on how to use a foam roller. Should I get a Theragun? What kind of pillow is best? Tell me more about massage balls. I noticed that you just adjusted a baby over there. Like, why did you do that? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 videos that I could have done at the end of yesterday morning. The interesting thing about it now too is that lots of these situations too, when I was talking about the foam roller and pillow or doing a pillow fitting, these are now opportunities that our patients are really wanting to be a part of the community. And many of them, you say, hey, listen, I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to fit you out for a pillow. Could we film that? Because I get asked this question all the time, and this might be a great one. So, I had a patient come to me, a new patient. Now, this is the first time that this had happened. So his initial patient, I was giving him his first adjustment, and he said to me, are you going to film this and put this up online? Like, he was prompting me to do it. And I said, well, no, Sunil, not this one here. But it was really interesting. There is so much content there for our docs. We just have to start to see it. And once you see it, I'm fascinated at the shift that happens, because in the early days when I start talking with practitioners, they're like, I don't know what to post. And then there comes this aha moment where they go, everything is postable. Like, now I've got too many ideas once they get to that also. So we've kind of worked our way through. I want to right back, the question just came to me too. When you're choosing a platform, we spoke about kind of Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. They're the big ones. Why might I choose one of those over the other? Is there anything that you would guide? Is there a spot why Facebook might be better than TikTok, for instance?
Well, I mean, you're just looking at a numbers game
Right.
ultimately,
Yes.
right? And when you look at all the numbers, Facebook still hands down has the biggest market share.
Yes.
It also has the easiest ad platform. Facebook owns Instagram. So
Yes.
what's really cool is like you can run an ad on Facebook and you can hit Facebook and Instagram placements. You don't even have to have an Instagram account. So that's why I say those two, but I
Mm.
think ultimately it really comes down to too, like if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm on Twitter, I love Twitter, I've never used any other platforms, and start on Twitter.
Yeah.
So start where you like first, because if you can have fun and you can see that value, then you're really going to have more of an impact. And then that'll lead into some of the other platforms. So this is what I was talking about earlier. And I know this is a big discussion. And I definitely think you should own a platform. One
Yes.
to two platforms you should get in and you should own those. So Facebook and Instagram is where I spend the majority of my time. But like yesterday when I was promoting this room with Matthew Loop, I created a story image to share to my Instagram story. Well, LinkedIn has a story, Facebook page, Facebook personal, Instagram, and Twitter all have story placements. So after I shared it to Instagram, why wouldn't I just really quickly
Yeah.
share it to my Facebook personal, share it to LinkedIn, and share it to Twitter? It took a second. So, and that's where we were talking to somebody who's all in on Instagram. If you're all in on Instagram, then you're going to be creating Instagram reels. Well, if you're creating reels, why not repurpose those to TikTok and YouTube shorts? Or the idea of like, if you're going to be in heavy video, if you do these live videos every single week, you do a live video where you're doing, whatever it may be, but you have this awesome video content, why not repurpose that to YouTube? Right. So I see it more as when you really start to create this content and you're putting your message out there and you have that fire inside of you, kind of like I do, of like, people need to hear this, then there won't be enough placements and platforms for you to share that message to, right? Because that's how I'm like looking at my phone, like, wait, where else can I share this? Maybe I'll share it to Reddit. Like I'll just share it everywhere. Because I get passionate about wanting to ensure I put a lot of time and effort and thought and creation into what I'm doing. And I want to make sure it reaches as many people as I can get it to reach organically. And then if it's really good content or what have you, that's when I put the dollars behind it to really, throw some fuel on the fire.
I'm interested in the concept of outsourcing. How much of this can and should be outsourced to somebody else? Can I go, hey, listen, that all sounds amazing, Nicole. Love that idea. Who can I outsource all of this to so I can just adjust the patients? Can that be done and should it be done?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the core content has to come from you. The
Yes.
video, the voice, the
Yes.
message, whatever it is. The hardest part is when you try to outsource and you don't know what you're outsourcing. So this is what I get a lot of doctors. Can you manage my social media?
Yeah.
Like manage this thing over here as if it's separate of their office, but really you want your pages to be an extension of your office. I really recommend if you can hire somebody locals preferred, because they can come in and help do the videos and the images. So it's very much in your office, but they can take that video. And I have a master repurposing process. Anybody that's listening can reach out to me anywhere and ask me for that, and I can send it to you. But I have a master repurposing where you can take one video, turn it into, using rev.com. You can grab the transcript, turn that into a blog, upload that to YouTube, embed it on your website, upload it to Facebook, take sound bites out and put those on Canva images, to share to Instagram and Twitter and what have you, creating stories. But then again, so the one piece of content idea and repurposing that content they can do, but also if you have a campaign. So if you're like, we're going to do this giveaway, or we're going to create this, ebook and put it on our website, they can help with the technical And then again, they can help with the dissemination, the promotion of the campaign.
Yes.
If you're going to do a weekly webinar series or a live in-person or live virtual, depending upon, where you're going at right now, those are great. And again, you have to take people to a middle step. And a good middle step is a group event. A live webinar, a live event in your office, a virtual, something in that nature, and then you close them to come into your office. So again, it's just, what's that dinner? What's dinner mean for you is what you have to figure out.
I think it's really, because I love the idea. I wish that somebody could come and do all of my social media, outsource everything. But when I get asked that question, I feel, I really reflect with what you said as well, that the idea of our social media is to have more people know, like, and trust us. Okay. So that, or me in this situation, or you in your situation there too, which means you need to be intimately involved in the creation of the content, but beyond the creation, that initial piece there too, every part of it from that from that point onwards can absolutely be kind of outsourced to somebody else. So I think that's a really important distinction. If you're kind of listening to this now, they have to buy you. We're building personal branding around you and your practice. You talked about getting somebody local to come and help out with stuff like that too. Do you have any tips in terms of how to find the right kind of person who might be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the big question, right? Of anything. How do you find that rock star person in any
Yes.
position?
Yep.
It goes back to knowing what you want, right?
Yes.
And if you can really know what you want and put that out there. And so if we want somebody to shoot videos, take images in our office, repurpose our social media content, whatever it is, put that in, and then you're going to attract that person that's like, I would love to do that. I say local. You can get a VA to do
Yes.
a lot of this. You absolutely can. You just have to remember, like you were saying, I do it remotely for a doc and I love it, but it's still so different because I don't know her community. I've never driven in her community. I don't know the businesses. I don't know the hot spots. I don't know where everybody hangs out. I don't know the hashtags. I don't know the sayings. And to the point of, if it's a completely different community, like I've worked with a community before where I was doing the inbound phone calls when they would want to schedule. And they're like, you're not from around here, ma'am, are you? Because it's a totally different accent, than where they were. And it was just very obvious. So, the voice, how you speak, all of those things really matter when you're building that know, like, trust and that relationship. But a lot of what I get off Facebook and Instagram is also I'll find there's other events or other opportunities. And we want to be a vendor at this event. So,
Yeah.
or, somebody else is hosting something. You're like, we would love to offer a giveaway to be a part of that. And so there's just huge benefit if you can get somebody in your community, because it's community building is what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
One of the things I would encourage our guests to do, and we'll have this in the show notes, would be to reach out to Nicole and ask to get her master repurposing process there. So then you've got, here's what needs to happen with my content. Start to think about, you've probably got a patient at the moment, whether it be a young mum or a young dad, that is already doing great stuff already. You might find that they're all out of a social, they've got their finger on the pulse with regards to this. Reach out to them. And I would imagine that, really conservatively, 5 hours a week, if you paid this person, would take you a long way. It's a good whack. And let's just say that, you're paying them $25 an hour, and it might be less than that too. It's $125 a week. It's at that rate too. It's a little less than sort of $5,000 a year on our marketing. And, the best recommendations as far as kind of marketing budgets and stuff says, somewhere around that, at least 5% of your gross revenue should be going on marketing if you want your business to grow. And so few businesses are doing that. Most of them saying, I can't afford to do that. Well, that's why you need to do it, because you can't afford to do it. You should be spending 10% on your marketing because you can't afford to do it. This is a real investment moving forwards. I love that kind of concept that we've worked our way through. If Nicole, of our listeners, which they will want to, find out a little bit more about what you do and how you help people, and where do they go, and how can they find out a little bit more about how you can kind of help them on this journey also?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I mentioned this earlier. I can't remember if I said it here on Clubhouse, but my handle everywhere is Purdue, like the university. So Purdue, Purdue Nicole.
Yes.
And you can find me on any platform. You can also go to bit.ly, bit.ly/Purdue Nicole, and that'll kind of take you to all my social media pages, all my links. And then I'm an open book. So again, like I said, whichever platform is your platform of choice, you can DM me, message me on there, follow me on there, and would love to chat with you. I'm hosting right now a weekly webinar series. So it's every Wednesday at noon Eastern. And you can get the replay as long as you register, because I know people are seeing patients different times. I don't know what noon may be for you. What time? Probably in the middle of the night for you, noon my time.
Likely, yes.
That's my thing. I want to make sure people can get the information. Like, I hope you can be there live. My encouragement for people to show up to the webinar series live is you get to ask questions, right? You get a live with me. And so when you're creating your content, you're creating what you're doing, just really think about, like, what is my goal? What is my purpose? And it'll all come together. But yeah, reach out with any questions that you have. I'd be more than happy to help.
Yeah, and I want to just really vouch for the quality of the content that you share, how incredibly helpful and generous that you are. I've loved what you've had to share as well. So thank you for. I get so excited when I find other people that love chiropractic and chiropractors as much as I do, and so thank you for all the impact that you have had and will continue to have, and thank you for helping us as chiropractors and other health practitioners, reach more people in our community and change more lives. I really appreciate that. And I can't wait to just continue to see more of the wonderful work that you do. Any final words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I just want to share that I think it's working. When I started in 2015, I was on a hashtag campaign. I was on a hashtag challenge. I had searched the hashtag chiropractor, searched the hashtag subluxation, and there was like so few, it was embarrassing. And so one of the things I talked about I was talking about the marketing before, it's about, part of it is size. Everybody does this, so I'm going to do it, right? That's part of human behavior and how people make decisions.
Yes.
So if I was like, can we just grow these hashtags, use these hashtags as much as you can. And now when you go and you Google chiropractic and you utilize our hashtags, you are over inundated with so many phenomenal chiropractors sharing their voice. And that was the other thing I talked about, is we're in charge of what people find when they search. And so if we're not putting anything out there, then we're letting somebody else define what these things mean. And so when you can get online and you can own your message on your accounts and your pages and put that out there, that really defines what you do in your community. You're in charge of that, and you're able to own that voice and message versus allowing somebody else, right, to own or place that voice and message out there.
Yeah. What a beautiful
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. We are in control of what's going on. Really, we are now. You have the ability with nothing more than your mobile phone to actually be your own media company, which is really what we started off with saying. And as opposed to us buying media somewhere else, we create our own media, which means we can create our own message there as well. Gang, go and check out Nicole. Her content is fabulous. If you have the opportunity to work with her, then do it. She's full of heart. Do it with her. She's full of heart. And I can't wait to chat again real soon. I'll see you probably inside of Clubhouse next week.
Yes, I will definitely see you in Clubhouse, and sometime we are going to meet in person. I'm going to every event I see, I'm going to over the next 2 to 3 years. You're going to see me there.
Well, I look forward to the time that I can travel with ease out of Australia. So hopefully that's sooner rather than later. Nicole, thanks so much. See you back here real soon.
Bye, Dr. Pyke. Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at adiomedia.com/join. That's adiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.